Oklahoma is getting ready to go on the road to Auburn, Alabama, which, you know what? Given what we saw last year, I thought was going to be a really tough game because Auburn had shown themselves capable of pushing Georgia into the deep water and damn near dunking Alabama to the point that they damn near drowned, just couldn't finish. And if you took a look at Hugh Freeze's Auburn team last year, all they needed was a quarterback that was competent. Because Peyton Thorne didn't do much of nothing in that game, didn't do much of nothing in Georgia, didn't do much of nothing against Alabama. So I'm thinking, okay, go get your quarterback. Well, they didn't do that. They decided to ride with Peyton Thorne. Okay. And they got Hank Brown in there. Okay. And then Peyton Thorne turns out to still be Peyton Thorne. Shocker. So you go with Hank Brown to start against Arkansas. And this is where I get to draw a line. And I get to say, all the folks that are out on, say, Sam Pittman or Arkansas need to look at how people talk about Hugh Freeze at Auburn, okay? Because what Sam Pittman is not going to do is throw his kids underneath the bus. He's going to say we need to block and tackle. He's going to take some issue with some play calls, some choices, but he is going to ride for his players, and he's going to protect them. He's going to protect his coaches. So I'm watching this game out the corner of my eye while I'm also watching, Michigan USC. And I saw a change. Taylor Green couldn't do much of nothing. I mean, Auburn linebackers put that man in jail. Put that man in cuffs. He could not move. He could not throw the ball. He didn't know where he was supposed to go. And I could see Sam, who is an offensive line coach, kind of get on the horn and say, Bobby, run the damn ball. And that is what they did. Arkansas decided we're going to run the damn ball. And there wasn't nothing Auburn could do about it after that. But you get into the post-game presser after Arkansas gets a really good win for Arkansas, right? Their only losses to what was a ranked Oklahoma State team. We'll see about that tomorrow. And he proceeds to say, we got to be better. We don't have the players. I know that the game is the game, but quarterback's not that good. Running back's not that good. We got to hold on to the football. Proceed to drag his players. And then we got what was a viral tweet from a former quarterback for Hugh Freeze at Ole Miss named Bo Wallace. Y'all remember Bo Wallace? I remember Bo Wallace. I remember Bo Wallace used to cook people. And he decided to tell us a story that he had never told before. And it's worth looking up on Twitter to read it in its entirety. But I'm going to give you what I think are the highlights from this so you can draw your own conclusions, okay? And this is me quoting Bo Wallace here. I got a story I'll keep in my back pocket forever until it's time. Auburn staffers calling my phone incoming in parentheses, but he says, but that dude has never helped me a day in his life. It was always only about getting a win for him so he could collect his extra 100 racks a win. If y'all knew the medications and shots I was taking to get that man his money, you wouldn't believe that they would let you walk on a football field like that. And with all that, I still feel the tires from the bus. And in parentheses, Bo's drunk. Nah, he is sober, as he could be watching tape. Just tired of this dude always blaming players in all caps every single time. Do your research on his offenses, including his time at Liberty. Look at the interceptions every quarterback he's had play for him throws. At some point, when it happens over and over every year, you look in the mirror, not at the players to save face. Some things I don't like more than watching a head football coach throw his players under the bus. Because I think most of the players believe what Bo Wallace believed. You want to sell out for that man. You want to do everything you can to make that man look good for having played you. That's all you got, especially when he's playing. There's no name, image, and likeness money. Speaking of name, image, and likeness money, maybe we need to do some of that to go hire an offensive coordinator once called plays. Anyway, I would also look at Hugh Freeze on this. This is who Oklahoma gets to play next week. So I'll be curious to find out whether or not it's Peyton Thorne or it's Hank, or if Jaquez Hunter still wants to run the football back there. So Oklahoma might be walking into a spot where you might find an Auburn that ain't feeling very Auburn at the moment. Or maybe it's right on time. It's right on brand. You know what I'm saying? It's Auburn. And then Oklahoma got Texas in the Cotton Bowl. And, we might be back to the Tennessee place. Back to the bridge, as they say. My goodness, man. That's a lot to unpack because the SEC is deep, and the worst team in it is Mississippi State. Vanderbilt had Missouri on the ropes today. Everybody else in that league has shown at least at one point that they got a little flair to them, right? Florida put 45 up on Mississippi State today. Mississippi State also got 41 put up on it by Toledo. No shade to Toledo, but you don't play in the SEC. And to Jason Candle's point, Mississippi State is exactly the kind of program that would raid our roster for players. He's not wrong. Adding insult to actual injury, Blake Shapen is out. He's done for the season. So you're going to have to make it happen some other way if you're Jeff Lebby. But that ain't nothing new for Jeff Lebby, who was offensive coordinator for the only losing season that Oklahoma has had in the 21st century. That man became a head coach. Okay? So I also add in there, Josh Heupel, Oklahoma. Sharon Moore, as much as he don't want to say it, you went to Oklahoma, buddy. You graduated in 2007. You went to school with me, Michigan man. Yeah, all right, you the head coach, just like Josh Heupel, the head coach at Tennessee. But he went to Oklahoma, and he carries it. It's fine. I don't understand. I would be louder about this if I were him. I really would. I would be much louder about I played for Bob Stoops. Bob Stoops wanted to hire me. He just didn't have a spot on staff. I would keep saying those things over and over and over, but that ain't where Sharon wants to live. He wants to live as Jim Harbaugh's. You know what? I get it. Because Bob Stoops would say, Steve Spurrier is his mentor at Florida. Because there was this big to-do about whether or not Bill Snyder was his mentor, because he was defense coordinator for Snyder at Kansas State, or even what Coach Fry was to him. But he would say, no, I work for Bill Snyder. Steve Spurrier is my mentor. And if that's what Sharon is doing with Jim Harbaugh, fine. I can live there. I just would like to hear him say that. I don't like having to remind people where somebody went to college if they're a head coach. I would like that to just kind of be known. That's what you want to know, right? We'll see. Also on the Florida tip, do you realize that Billy Napier is a loss to Central Florida in 2 weeks, by the way, 2 weeks away from losing to Florida State, Miami, Central Florida. So he loses Florida State later this year after losing to Miami earlier this year and losing Central Florida. He goes 0-3. I don't know what it takes to get fired over there, but I don't think that losing to all three Florida schools on the same year is going to help you retain your job. I don't think that's going to be a thing that you point to on your KPI. When your performance review comes up, I don't think that's going to be one of those things like, look at what I did. I lost to Miami, Florida State, and Florida. Miami, Florida State, and UCF. It's one of those things. Couple more topics I want to touch on before we get out of here. Mostly, top 25 is a thing I'm still working on, but I can tell you this, the SEC still very much at the top of it, right? Didn't see whatever. Everybody wants Ohio State to play somebody. I get that. I understand that. But right now, I got Georgia 1, Texas 2. I want to see Georgia, Texas play, and that might be the flipped when they play on October 19th. But right now, that's what it is for me. Georgia 1, Texas 2, Ohio State 3. And then there's a delineation, right? Depending on what you think about Alabama, Ole Miss, or Tennessee, they're all right there. Penn State ain't played nobody, but they're beating up on people like they ain't played nobody. Realize that Penn State beat Kent State 56-0. And I know that a lot of people are looking at the 718 yards, which is a school record that Penn State put up, or that they only allowed 67 from the Golden Flashes. What I would like you to know is that Kent State has lost his last two games 126-0 so that they could collect about $3 million. That's when the bag money doesn't go right. We're going to talk about that here in a little bit too. Oregon's idle at 9. Miami, South Florida, they did what they needed to do. Missouri, I had at 11. Then we started to get some moving and shaking because Utah beats Oklahoma State without Cam Rising, which I think counts for something, and put Ollie Gordon in jail. 11 rushes, 42 yards. Alan Bowman got the hook for Garrett Rangel. And I don't know what it is that Mike Gundy sees in Garrett Rangel that he loves, but he loves something over there. I don't know what it is. I know what Utah loves. Micah Bernard. That dude went for 183. Most by a Utah running back against an AP top 25 opponent since 2018. We're talking about Zach Moss, right? Clemson stopped a mud hole in North Carolina State and walked it dry. Don't know why y'all had North Carolina State in the top 25 to begin with, but they out now because that game's 45-7 at halftime. Michigan, we mentioned beating USC. I got to do some moving and shaking with them. I don't think they're going to be at 15. I think they're going to move up. USC at 16 might move down. We'll see. LSU, we'll see, right? They beat up on a UCLA team 34-17, but UCLA ain't no good. Meanwhile, Garrett Nussmeier has had 3 games, 300 yards passing or more, and the one that he didn't, he went for 285. That dude is slinging the rock. Kansas State is playing BYU while we're doing this. Oklahoma obviously lost to Tennessee. Louisville beat Georgia Tech. Louisville has lost 2 regular season games since Jeff Brom took over the job last year. They are undefeated. Slowly but surely making moves in the ACC, right? Not unlike a couple of other surprise teams in the ACC that we'll talk about. Iowa State looks like a Big 12 title contender. They beat up on an Arkansas State team 52-7. Why do I bring up Arkansas State? Because the same Arkansas State team lost 28-18 to Michigan. So is it that Arkansas State is good? Or is it that Michigan might not be as good as we think? I don't know. But if you're talking about 1-to-1, Iowa State put up 52 and allowed 7. Think about that. Just what I'm saying. I had Oklahoma State at 23. We'll see. Notre Dame beat up on Miami of Ohio like they should. Riley Leonard went for 154 through the air, 143 on the ground, giving me real Avery Johnson vibes. And I got UNLV in that top 25 spot at number 25. They're idle. We'll see what I think about Wazoo. They're 4-0. Sneaky 4-0. Northern Illinois lost to Buffalo. They're going to be out. A&M squeaking by Bowling Green, but Bowling Green also took Penn State into the deep water. Before we get out of here, let us do the favorite segment that everybody here on the show loves, because we had not 1 but 2. It's not just that FCS Monmouth beat Florida International at Pit Bull Stadium 45-42. It's that FIU paid $290,000 for the privilege. It's not just that James Madison beat North Carolina 70-50. It's that Tar Heels paid $500,000 for the privilege. UNC, FIU. I said you been had. I said you been took. I said you been hoodwinked, bamboozled, led astray, run amok. This is what he does. FCS Monmouth get their first FBS win. James Madison, the Dukes, putting it in against UNC. Put the shimmy in the shag. UNC, FIU, put the money in the bag. And we out. I'll see y'all on the flip side. Have a blessed Sunday. Deuces.